about to begin another harvest. Starting at the front steps again, the tomatoes, you see all the way up. I have so many tomatoes growing here, and who would have thought? Look, that's where they're planted, just a tiny little patch of ground. Hey, there's our tomatoes done. I do need to plant out a lot of my little seedlings that I've started up again. They need to get going. The celery is doing fine. My silver beet in pots is doing fine. I did plant out this area over here. I used to have a pawpaw tree here. I decided that since my tomatoes in the other area were doing so well, I thought to try and plant some tomatoes again using my bamboo. So I've got a Beams yellow pear, which I'm not sure how well it'll go. I've got a black cherry, and I think I've got a Cherokee purple tomato there, and then I've also got a zucchini which I bought. I'll go show you my other zucchinis. Normally I grow stuff from seed, but I tried planting seed. We're in our winter, and I know for some of you winter at 21 degrees Celsius sounds amazing, but for us that's cold. So my zucchinis, and we do get cold at night, like we get, and again, okay, we get cold, we get down to 10 degrees at night, which is quite cold for us. Zucchinis, I planted some zucchini seeds, and they took forever to come up. So I thought, oh well, I'll go buy some zucchini plants. So I put those in, and literally the day after I put those in, the seeds came up. So I was obviously just being impatient. Anyway, so I put zucchini seeds down here and also over here, so I am hoping that they will come up and do well. These are the blueberry tomatoes. I told you about them last time. So these are the blueberry tomatoes. They are not the nicest tasting tomatoes, but they are prolific. You can see how dark they are in colour. That's where the sun gets them, but they do turn this sort of reddy, purpley sort of colour. They're not my favourite tomato. In fact, in terms of their flavour, they're pretty ordinary, because I like my cherry tomatoes really sweet. But having said that, they are super prolific. They grow all year, and they're no dramas, and they just keep coming up. I never plant them in my garden. I don't think I've got any eggplants ready to go. Again, my eggplant is probably looking a little sick because it is winter for us. And I've got this nice little bed here planted full of lettuce and another celery. Now this bed gets a lot of shade. So if you'll notice, this is my beautiful hedge. And then you see the archway in my beginning of my video. That shades my garden in this afternoon, which in Queensland we actually need. So my thing for this bed is the fact that it is in shade in the afternoon. I'm hoping to be able to plant the shade-loving stuff, so my lettuces, my celery, and some silver beet later on, and keep them going a bit longer. So here's all my chilies, which I chopped them all back after harvesting them last week. This one looks a bit sad, but as you can see already, I've got beautiful new growth. They do need to be cut back because I get mites and scale, and if you can see here, I've got actually still got a fair amount of scale. I don't know if you can see that. I've still got a fair amount of scale on the trees. We don't have to replant our chilies every year. We're warm enough that our chilies will keep going. But I do like to sort of chop them back. Oh look, see, you can see it's already got another little flower. That's how, you know, well they respond to chopping back in winter. Oh, there's another one over there too. How cool is that? So these little guys will just keep going all year round. But I do like to give them a good chop back, give them a good feed, try to deal with any scale issues that I've got, which I have been putting eco oil on. I don't think it seems to be doing much, and my little ant population down there just seems to be laughing at me. So they farm the scale. Oh look, it's actually quite bad. I might come in and try and spray them off with a nice strong spray of water. But anyway, I never replant chilies. I just drop a few chilies. You can see one there that I just dropped. I want to say deliberately, but it wasn't deliberately. I just left it there. And then my chilies just come up throughout here. So this area always has chilies in it. It looks so effective against the grey background. But if you notice, I was having a look around here before. Obviously I've dropped some chilies here previously because I've got some chilies coming up again. So I'll just let them come up. If they come up and do well, they'll do well, and that'll be my next little bush when one of these die off. Down to check out my bees. I was a bit worried about them for a while. They didn't seem to be doing much of anything. To be fair, I only see them early in the morning and late at night because I'm usually at work during the day. But today I've come out, it's 21 degrees today, and this is our Brisbane winter. And I've come out today and all my bees are just going fantastic. So I'm not as worried. Just want to have a little look around the back. So this is a top bar hive, and I got this hive because what it allows you to do is harvest bar by bar instead of a whole bar at once. And I am so not worried about my bees anymore. It was looking a little bit empty recently, and for some reason they had started to build a comb here in this position, but they'd only half done it, and then this whole half of the hive was empty of bees. There was no bees in it at all, and all my bees were sort of stuck up this end, and I was going, oh, I hope that they're okay. I had a hive, I had this hive for 3 years previously, and they had gone great, and then I had gotten really busy at work one day and saw that I had hive beetle, and I knew I had hive beetle, but I didn't get around to doing anything about it, and I was really busy at work. And anyway, they ended up dying off, and that was really disappointing because for 3 years I'd had a beautiful healthy hive, and then all of a sudden they had gotten a really bad infestation and died off. And so anyway, so I got in contact. Now, if you want hives, you can get the Langstroth hives pretty much they're pretty common in Brisbane, but the top bar hives are not as common, and I needed a top bar nuke, and so they're pretty hard to actually find, and there's only one guy in Brisbane that I know of that does them. Anyway, so I was on a waiting list, and he finally got back to me, and we got our hive put in, and I got this put in I want to say February, and yeah, they're doing all right now. But what I did was I used to have it in the back garden, and one of the things, because the hive beetle, what they do is they lay their eggs in the comb, and then they hatch in there, and then the larva falls to the ground and then pupates and then crawl back up and reinfest the hive. So what I've done is I've actually moved my hive into the chicken coop. So I figured if I ever did get small hive beetle again, that problem could kind of solve itself, because the chickens are constantly scratching around the bottom here. And yeah, so I'm hoping that that will, if they ever do get under stress again, that the hive beetle won't be able to take over, because my chickens will keep them pretty much in check. So yeah, I can smell the honey. I cannot wait for my first harvest. I don't know if you can see it, but see there? All that is honeycomb in there, and I just cannot wait. So I'm just gonna let them do their thing over winter, but come spring, I will be in there, guaranteed. So if you're curious, here are my chickens. They roost up in my hedge. So there's one roosting in there now. They do have a roost box, but they love just sitting up here during the day, and they've got plenty of space to scratch around. I actually got the idea of putting them under my hedge from a lady in my garden group. She had her chickens only in under a hedge, and she ran a fence right along a hedge line, and that's where they sort of free ranged, I guess. My chickens used to free range my whole yard, but they destroyed everything. I don't know if you've ever had a chicken escape on you and be left in your garden unattended, but they are the most destructive critters that you can imagine. So anyway, my girls now have a significant area. I don't know if you can see this, but it's actually quite a big area. If I do a sort of 360 from where I'm standing, they actually have a really big area. So over here I have strawberries. Now you can see some dead plants in there. That's because my stupid chickens, see that one there? She gets up there and she manages to get out. None of the other chickens do it, but every now and then she escapes and she gets in here and makes a god-awful mess. So I'm not very happy with her at the moment. But what you can see here is I have a perennial capsicum. Now this guy I got from a garden visit, and they're not the biggest capsicums. They certainly don't have the thickest flesh, but they are sweet. They're great in chili and things like that, and they're super prolific. Now this guy is in partial shade. In winter, this bed here doesn't get very much sun at all. It sort of just gets filtered afternoon sun like you can see now, but really nothing much at all. It survives all winter. It'll keep going through summer, and the best thing about this is fruit fly does not sting it. So I will have capsicums all year round from this plant. I don't know if you can see it, there's 2 red ones there, there's another red one down below, and I've got another 5 or 6 little green ones, and they just keep producing. So I'm actually making a committed effort to plant stuff that is more, that does well with little effort, that is still relatively nice. So because of that, this year I've planted a whole bunch in my seedling trays over there. You would have seen a whole bunch of capsicums. These are all these perennial capsicums, because I find a real struggle to get normal capsicums to grow. And all I'm going to do with those guys is just plant a couple around the place and give a few away at my garden club. But anyway, I'll get these capsicums. So that's it there. So here are some more capsicums I've planted. These are not the ones, these are not the perennial ones, these are the diggers ones, so I have no clue what they're going to be. They're just a mixed seed packet. Now these 2 are doing all right, but you can already see the leaves are starting to curl over. I tend to have this trouble, and so if you look at this one, see how badly the leaves are curled over, and then they just don't do well, and I don't know what causes it. Whereas I don't have that problem with the perennial capsicums. This one here is a Mad Hatter. Again, I don't normally buy seedlings, but I had been after seeds for this for ages. And anyway, I found a place that was selling seeds, but they were going to cost me like $5 for seeds and then $5 for postage. So I was like, oh well, I'll wait until I need some more seeds. And then I saw this down at Bunnings as a seedling for $5, and I thought, well, I only want one plant and I'll make the effort to save seeds this time. This is another one that is a small little capsicum, but is super prolific and not fruit fly prone. So it's something I can grow in Queensland without having to worry about covering it up. So that's what the idea is there. So I'm going to keep this going and see how we get. But if you'll have a look, can you see my beautiful strawberry flower? So these don't get a lot of sun at the moment. As we warm up, we'll get more sun. But they're getting enough that they're keeping alive and they're looking pretty healthy, so I'm pretty happy about that. So you can see I've got heaps of strawberries just everywhere, tucked under, and you don't even notice them until they turn a beautiful red colour. Oh, I'm probably going to have to get in here and water this. But see that? And then I've got another one. Oh, he probably needs another day or so. But there he is. So I grow my strawberries mostly in the pots. I do have some in the ground, as you've seen, but they're my excess plants. And you know, I'd rather try and get some than, you know, not have any. But if I grew these in the beds, I get little critters, and what they do is it'll look perfect. You'll see this side and you'll think, yay, a beautiful strawberry. And then you'll flip it over and there'll be everything eaten out, like literally a hollow shell of a strawberry, and they've eaten everything else. It's so good, so sweet. So yeah, my strawberries just grow along the fence. I don't seem to have problems with birds eating them. I think my dog and my cat do a pretty good job of keeping them out. Ooh. This is not looking good, guys. I think I need to get in here and water. It's a little bit sad and sorry for itself at this stage of the afternoon. These should be perked right up and, you know, looking full of life. So I might need to get out and get the watering into them. Still no signs of brassicas. Like, it's driving me crazy. I think I've got a little bit of a head here, and I don't know, but it doesn't feel firm. It's a wombok. It's not firm at all. So I don't know if I should bother picking it, or if I leave it, is it going to go to seed and, you know, have something come up. Anyway, we are having a stew tonight, so I'm going to steal some of my kale, and I've got another kale plant that's doing much better than this one. Got all my beautiful tomatoes there. I actually had two Cherokee purple, one there and one there, and this one died. I don't know why. I just came out one day and the whole thing was dead. Pulled it up, the roots looked fine, like it didn't look like I had root knot nematode or anything like that. So anyway, I just went, oh well, I'll get rid of it before it like does something to my other plants. Now over here, as I suspected, it is a blueberry tomato, those ones I've got out the front with the really dark blue. They are not nice, but I mean, they're prolific, so they're good in sauces actually. When I say they're not nice, you put them in sauces and they're really quite yummy. Over here is my other brassica bed, and see, even these wombocks, like, there's nothing to them. I don't know, and like this looks like it's starting to curl over. This is a cabbage. It looks like it's starting to curl over, but I can't feel anything significant in there. It'll be very disappointing because I don't think we're going to be cool for much longer with the way the days have been so warm. So it's my only opportunity to get brassicas. The beans have finally started to do well. Okay, the beetroots and the carrot. I don't do well with beetroot. I get these stumpy little roots. There's a couple, like, those are looking okay, but then, you know, look at that, stumpy. And then that one down here is looking quite good, and then they're stumpy. I don't know. Anyway, and then the carrots, and then these guys are the perennial leeks. And again, something very easy to grow. They just come up by themselves every year. They don't go to seed as such. Well, I've never seen them go to seed. But what happens is can you see these little stalks here? All right, so as this stalk gets fatter, they produce little bulbs down the bottom, and then they'll send up little baby plants all around it. And so while these don't get as fat as your, you know, big, huge leeks, they get big enough and you get a decent harvest. And the fact that you don't have to replant all this tiny little rubbish stuff, and every year all I do is when this one's ready to harvest, I'll just come out with my knife, cut it off, and then leave the baby ones there. And if there's any baby ones that are big enough to sort of transplant, I'll take them and I'll put them somewhere else in the garden. I always leave a patch relatively undisturbed because they don't do well in summer. So, you know, they will die off. And if it's in a patch that you're going to be digging up all the time, you'll forget they're there and you'll dig it up and you'll ruin all your little bulbs. But you let them die off over summer, and then as soon as it starts to cool down again, there'll be little bulbs in the soil that'll just send up baby leeks everywhere, and so you end up with these beautiful healthy leeks that you didn't have to plant. I mean, I obviously dug these up and transplanted them, but they were already sort of, oh, I guess that's a little squidgy one over there, but they were all sort of round about that size, maybe a little bit smaller when I did it. But no planting seeds, no having to have that sort of hassle, and they do really well, which is one of the things that I struggle with in Queensland is onions, or anything of the onion family, garlic family, anything like that. These do really, really well. So these are perennial leeks. I got them from Green Harvest. I think it was Green Harvest. They're a place up at Mullaney in Queensland, and they have some interesting perennials that do well in our subtropical climate. So I'll go show you the little bed that they actually is their dedicated bed that they grow in. But before we go, see my kale? I told you I had some decent kale. It's looking really good. I don't even know what variety this one was. It was one that I grew at the, there was a thing on at the Botanic Gardens, and they were like, plant your own seeds. And I was like, sure, I'll go along to that. It was just before COVID happened. It was the last garden thing I went to before all this rubbish with COVID happened. Now, look at that pathetic brassica. Now that has been in longer than anything else and still has done nothing. So I've got nothing. I've got a big lot of nothing, which I think these are cauliflowers. Big, oh, hang on, maybe one pathetic, nope, big lot of nothing. But see how it's all curling up? Oh, I just broke that. But I might, maybe, be on the way to getting some sort of cauliflower. Over here. So, this little bed does pretty much nothing, right? In summer, it's actually in shade. I've got these big trees, which the plan is I'm going to get someone to come in and cut them out so that I can extend a nice in-ground garden bed all the way around my fence line there. It'll give me some more gardening space. But at the moment, in winter it's not too bad because they actually, the sun comes from this sort of side, and so these get a relatively decent amount of sun. But this little area here is the area I was talking about that I just leave the leeks do their thing, and that's where they grow all summer. And I won't dig these up. I mean, I'll cut the parent ones off if they're big enough. And if you can have a look, I'll see if I can show you one. Sorry, I'm trying not to get on my other seedlings. Can you see it? You see that? See that little one there next to the parent? That is what I mean. So that'll be the parent, and then that one will be a little bulb off the parent that you can dig up. But they send quite significant amounts up. Look at this one. Don't know how it got knocked over, but it's knocked over, and it's actually done a good thing by being knocked over. It's growing under, so it's all nice and white. Maybe I should knock some of my other ones over. Anyway, I'll cover it back up, it's doing its own thing. But yeah, they get to a decent size. Like this one will get quite a bit bigger than that, and then I'll come along and harvest it. But anyway, yeah, so over here I've decided to plant some beetroots and some carrots just in an in-ground garden that I really don't use for much at all at the moment. Right, so tomatoes. Now these are the last of the tigerellas. See, they're still going and they still produce. They're way up in the sky now. Still looking sick. I haven't been keeping up with taking off their leaves, but just look at the sheer numbers of them. I'm really impressed with this variety. So tigerellas are not actually bad tasting tomatoes, unlike those blueberries. So I would recommend planting those. Now, if you want to know what I would recommend to plant in terms of cherries, what I've got here is, this is a black cherry tomato, and they are super sweet. I really love these. They're not as prolific as the blueberries, so they're a little bit more sickly, like they're not going to be there much longer. I'll show you the plant actually, but that's the blueberries. And then I don't know, these were just, I went to a market, bought some tomatoes from a market stand and liked the flavour so much that I planted the seeds. And yeah, these, I've planted them every single year. So this is like my 5th or 6th year now planting those, and they're still amazing. All right, I just saw while I was down there, it was hiding from me. Can you see that? Slim Jim eggplant, hidden away. All right, I still got to pick some from over here. I don't like to pick them too underripe, but you know, they're fine to ripen up inside. All right, so this is the black cherry tomato plant. So I've just picked some of the ripe ones off it, and you can see, I mean, up the top it's looking a bit healthier, and I've let it branch out now. It's not being trained to a central leader anymore. But yeah, they don't do as well as the blueberries, but oh man, they are so much nicer. And then just want to show you this. I am going to have to make an effort to remember not to do romas to a central leader, because they're more of a bush and they don't grow as tall. Can you check out the clusters of fruit on that tree? Can you see them? Like, it's insane, the clusters of fruit on that. Obviously, we got our first ripe one, which is fantastic. I wonder if I'm going to be, oh, there we go. These ones I definitely saved the seed from as well. They're either San Marzano or just plain old Romas. I'd bought both one year, planted both, never remembered which was which, and just saved the best seeds. I am definitely saving the seeds from this plant though. Just the clusters of fruit are so amazing. It's just fantastic. But I think in future I won't train them to a central leader, because I think I'm losing a lot of my fruit that I would have had. All right, so I've planted out my last brassica bed. Trying again, I don't know, maybe I'll get an abundance of broccoli all of a sudden. But anyway, those 4 are choicer. These 4 here are Italian sprouting. That one is hang on, these 2 are marathon. That one, sorry, it wasn't 4. That one is a Primo Vantage. I think it's a cauliflower. I have 3 red cabbages. I have heaps of pak choy, the red pak choy. I think another marathon and another red cabbage.